An established fact that the coronavirus originated in the wet markets of China. Not just that, but China has also concealed the severity and the spread of the virus which led to the outbreak, turning it into a global pandemic. Now China has stated that it will use the first Sinovac vaccine on its military even before tests are completed. The fact that China is using the vaccine on its military before its people shows that it's weaponizing COVID-19. Not just that, but now the Chinese mouthpiece Global Times has threatened India, saying India will run out of medicines and active ingredients if it continues this trade war against China. India currently sources paracetamol ingredients as well as active ingredients for HCQ from China. China's intent on using the virus as a tool for bio-warfare shows how it is crucial that the world gets the vaccine before China. We have with us a special panel joining us live. Major General Gigi Dwivedi is live with us, global strategic affairs analyst. We also have Major General JKS Parihar, security analyst, joining us live. Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist, is also live with us on the broadcast. And Sumit Peer, political analyst, also joins us live. Sumit, let me start with you. Clearly, it seems that China is according more priority to its military than its own public, by testing, of course, the vaccine on the military and giving it to the military before it actually gives it to the public, who may suffer the most, because there are less cases in the military than the public of China. And also, is this a way of weaponizing the COVID-19 vaccine rather than using it for its health benefits, Sumit?
I think, Uday, thank you very much for having me on your show. The point number one is, if you remember last time debate with you and on NewsX, there were a couple of very strange things happening in China. The first thing was that, when the Wuhan was the epicenter and all, Xi Jinping visits Wuhan with a 2-cent mask. He's not wearing gloves, there is no PPE, there is no hazmat suits, and they are not even having social distancing. That day I raised a very pertinent point, and NewsX also did it. We were on the same line. There is a high possibility these guys already have the vaccine. How can they risk the head of Communist Party of China into epicenter with a 10-cent or 2-cent mask? It doesn't happen in China. So, Uday, what we are seeing here, this is all a bluff which is given to the world. Remember, this vaccine, the party or the partner is Institute of Academics and Military Sciences. It's a body of military, and which in my opinion, they have already done the test, because what they are saying is third and the fourth phase of tests is not on clinical trials. In third phase, you do the test on a few thousand people, and fourth phase, you collate the test with the placebos. That is how the 4 phases work. But here, I think they've already done this test. Now, Uday, tell me logically, sir, is it possible with current geopolitical scenarios, somebody can risk an untested vaccine on its military that will jeopardize the security of the People's Republic of China? So it is not possible, sir. The vaccine is them, they have tested it, they have done, they are befooling the world. But when the geopolitical situations are changing, the military has to move on possibly, and they are mobilizing the military, we all know. Now they are giving them the booster. So, correlate what happened in Wuhan and correlate this Institute of Military Sciences as a partner, and conveniently telling the world we have skipped third and fourth phase, but we are willing to risk the security of the China, we are willing to risk the whole of the military with an untested vaccine. So which country on this earth will do this, take this risk? It is all sham, Uday. They have the vaccine. And one last point, they are now started talking of G4 virus. And according to the people, according to the journals, it was reported in 2017 in China. My point is, what the hell were you doing for 3 years? Were you hatching eggs, or you are brewing this virus in your labs to kind of infect the whole world?
That's the whole point, Gautam Mukherjee, and which is why it's essential that perhaps the world, discovers a vaccine before China, so that, it can be distributed equitably and holistically and responsibly, rather than in this arbitrary, fashion by China, and very dictatorial fashion by China, reflecting how it generally carries out its business. It just, does things in which its self-interest is served. It gives money, but makes that country an outstanding debtor to China forever, which is what we're seeing in Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and various other countries. However, also the fact here is that there's a worry, as Sumit Peer was saying, as to whether China is jeopardizing the world's health by unleashing these viruses when they have the cure themselves, if it's built in their labs.
Well, Uday, I think what they're doing is a little more of the psychological warfare that they've been using for quite a while on everybody around, and lately with great intensity against India. The efficacy of their vaccine is one thing. Perhaps it's been tried, like Sumit has said, and they are quite confident, but we know that the virus comes in many species, many variations, many branches, many intensities. It isn't as if India has not developed vaccines. It's not as if America and Europe have not developed vaccines. They're being cautious. They're trying test groups. They're going to go through with it. As the main problem seems to be that the one vaccine does not take care of all cases. The other thing is that different people in different countries seem to be responding to the virus in a very different way. Some are falling ill and dying quite quickly. Some are recovering. Now, our own recovery rate in Delhi is over 60% now. So I wouldn't worry too much about what the Chinese are up to. Every day they will tell us something. And to not give us ingredients for paracetamol is a blessing in disguise. Don't give it to us. We'll find somewhere else, or we'll make our own.
Already found.
Yeah. So, you know, I think what has happened is they've come rushing up to the border, flexing their muscles, and now don't know what to do.
Military threats, of course, are coming in. Major General Parihar, military threats, of course, are coming in, not just at Galwan, but also at Depsang and Daulat Beg Oldi. But now, medicine threats by China. I mean, is this the level they are descending to? Major General Parihar.
Yeah. See, I've been mentioning this in your channel for last 2-3 months now, since March, end of March, that bio-terror is a new weapon which has been introduced again and again in a newer form. It's an old weapon with a newer form. The COVID-19, I feel it is a lab-generated virus which has a different mutation, and this I had mentioned. Now, if you recollect, somewhere I remember it in the end of April, China has asked for the patent of their vaccine. As Sumit has rightly mentioned, that it is a long process to do the clinical trial and come to the conclusion. In certain cases, like I have been in charge of all this research, etc. In certain cases, in the force against the biomedical vaccines and drugs, etc., the local state or country authorities, they overrule the requirement of trial. That is also being done. It is done by us also. So my point is that they had a vaccine earlier, and after that they had introduced this virus in the global environment. So it's a sort of a bio-terror which they have forced against the Europe, US and all countries, those who are not doing with their political ideologies and their financial interest. So this is one part of it. Second, Sumit has rightly mentioned about that another virus is cropping up now, which is they are working on those for 2 years. So you have to go with them. You are right, corona is not a single strain, it is a group of the virus, and as Gautam has nicely pointed out that it has a different variations and all. So it will happen. Regarding the vaccine used in the armed forces, we know that the armed forces has a very strong, and General Dwivedi will agree with me, that we have a very strong health setup in the armed forces who takes the preventive aspects very robustly. We have all kind of a vaccination, right from hepatitis, typhoid, etc., smallpox, all goes there regular checkup. So no wonder every army will try to get first those who are exposed to the front area, they are always given the priority. So if China does it, I don't consider it as a big issue. It is, everybody will like to do that. But you have to remember one thing, that China has a very strict policy of their own ideology. They plan for 40 years, they work on it. So now Xi Jinping has economic agenda, he has a border agendas also, aggressively is working, and you have to fight against all those fronts, and I'm sure we'll be able to do that.
Okay. This is nothing but bio-warfare is what Major General Parihar is saying. Major General Dwivedi, do you agree? Bio-terror being unleashed by China, and that just that's just proven through this statement by Global Times, which is nothing but a propaganda outlet of the Chinese.
Well, Uday, firstly, always a pleasure to be on your channel. Well, someone who follows PLA very closely, like to give you a little background building upon what the three other panelists have brought out. Since 2010, People Liberation Army has been funding research on how to weaponize biotechnology, and these have been driven by the medical, colleges and medical universities which are part of the PLA. In 2010, a paper came out as to how we can, leverage biotechnology as a weapon, and thereon there have been paper from National Defense University and also some of the PLA scholars who are medicos, they have been at it. So therefore, it doesn't come to me as a surprise because I have been writing on Chinese gray zone warfare. So therefore, this biotechnology as a weapon is very much part of the gray zone warfare. Now coming to how they have tested this, you have to join the dots. When you look at China, you have to join the dots. You go to Wuhan, the virology lab from where this virus possibly could have escaped out, was part of the research they are doing to develop a vaccine, and they have been at it for last, I think, 2-3 years. And today, if they're testing on PLA, it's quite on the cards that this have been tested before. They are going to do it on the military. Second point is, you see, Xi Jinping in 2019 made a very important statement. He says that China must be prepared for black swan and grey rhino events because the Chinese economy was slowing down and possibly he was anticipating something to happen. And now he has used the COVID-19 as a strategic achievement to the world that look, Chinese have been able to control it. We are the first to come out with the vaccine, and he is projecting himself as a global leader. He has pushed Trump onto the back foot, and also India is facing I would say three-front war. We are facing COVID-19 kind gift of Chinese. We are also facing Chinese on the line of actual control, and our friend on the western border, Pakistan, is making the right noises in POK. So please understand, this is a larger game plan of Xi Jinping to tell the world that they are the leaders in technology, they are the leaders in pharmaceutical, and they should be now accepted as a global player with Xi Jinping as the global leader.
Okay, but how should India respond to this threat, or should we just ignore it? Gautam Mukherjee.
One aspect that seems to occur to me is that the Chinese leadership seems to be living in its own echo chamber. What they're not realizing is that they are consolidating opposition from all over the world by this continuous chicanery and treachery and going away from accepted international norms. What are you going to threaten people with biowarfare? Do you not know how many germs the Americans have in how many vials? Do we not know that this is something that almost any country can retaliate with? I mean, this makes no sense. What they're trying to do is threaten because they've begun on that course, and now they don't know what else to do because the next step is action. And they don't know whether they should go in for that because their assessments on what will be the damages are unknown. In fact, they're not the only ones. Who knows what happens when a war breaks out? Nobody can, then manage every bit of it to suit themselves, because some things will be anticipated and some things will not be anticipated. They have an incredible fighting machine compared to us, but they've never used it. They've only been marching up and down in parades. They've threatened a lot of people. Do they know how to fly their planes in war? Do they have the nerve? We have won the 65 war with gnats. Those planes are like, they're depending, the generals will tell you, on the skill of the pilots, not the efficacy of the machine. And now we have all sorts of much better machines. Can they fight and win in any sphere with us? And this applies equally to the Pakistanis, who do not fight themselves. They send terrorists who they pick up from the drain. They train for 3 months and they send them out as cannon fodder. Thereafter, their own soldiers are well back. If their soldiers perchance are put into the battle, then the officers are 10 kilometers behind them. What kind of outfit is this, and how do they expect to win against the Indian armed forces, which are always led from the front by their officers? There is nothing to worry about. We shall see how this unfolds.
And in any case, Sumit Peer, perhaps this is the push that we needed, you know, to become Atmanirbhar in the first place in the area of APIs and in the area of course, pharmaceutical drugs. Enough of the dependence of China. If they want to try and use it as a weapon, as some sort of threat for us, then it's time we look inwards. It's time we follow what the Prime Minister has said, and particularly in this API space and domain in which we have depended on China for far too long.
You see, Uday, when you talk of APIs, if you look at oil and gas and other industries, we are either following European or American APIs. For some medical reasons, we were we're following Chinese APIs because a lot of raw material used to come. The word here is used to come from China. Remember hydroxychloroquine issue when the world was asking for the medicine? Chinese, as per media reports, denied us a lot of medicine, these compounds already. So what did we do? We got and we, procured these compounds from all over the world. Uday, it is our record. We have sent medicines to 120 countries, few plane loads of medicines. That means we had tons of compounds which needed to make a few plane loads of medicines just by weight. So India has already started, and a lot of these things have been formalized as we talk. So our dependence on China is reducing. We are moving to American and European APIs. The only difference would be some 20% in the cost. But once you develop the supply chain and once the economy of scale comes in, even the cost difference will maybe 10-15% in the long run, which we can all afford to pay. Because it's a question of our national security. It's better to have a medicine 10 rupees more than rather not have it from disease if big what's it. That is how it is. So point number 2 is that, Uday, look at remdesivir. NewsX did a program. The day they declared coronavirus can be transmitted from a person to person, next day, the same Wuhan labs files a patent for remdesivir. Now look at what General Saab was rightly pointing out, and I agree with Gautamji completely. Uday, there are reports today in the media, 40 Chinese fighter jets are in Askar 2, POK. What are they doing there? They've been parked there for 2 months now. 40 jets. It's not a small number. So what are they doing POQ? We have seen that advisory being issued to POQ or kind of blank or block 50% of the beds and 50% of the blood. Why is it that? So Chinese also have these Pakistani tattoos, I will call them, not even mercenaries. Pakistan are not mercenaries. They have tattoos which are at their disposal. They might even push them into this and keep away them. So that is what I fear. And the last and the least point is that, Uday, you see, when it comes to Indian Army, when it comes to resilience, I agree with Gautamji completely. With the MiG-29 one, sir, so with the MiG-21 Bison, we brought down our F-16. Now you have seen how good are Pakistani pilots that the EU did not allow them to get a land, because now we need to land in EU. Because 30% of them, as per the admission of Pakistan Aviation Authority, are fake licenses. मतलब घर में license छाप के pilot बनते हैं. These are the kind of people. Now you give the war machines, you give them those Sukhois and all. Do you think they can even fly them? That is the level of incompetence in the system of Pakistan. And Chinese, what I always say, General Zhao, who is their war hero, has fought a war 42 years back. I don't know what grade that 72-year general is going to do now, and how does he threaten us now? Because, if you see, Uday, the amount of propaganda global times does. Why you need propaganda? Why are you displaying the weapons to the world? There is something to, on the one side, you say ideo strength, Shinzo doctrine. On the other hand, you're displaying your weapons to the world. So aren't you confused? Because the thing is that, Uday, what Gautamji and other panelists rightly said, they are not prepared for action. They believe in crude and crass propaganda, threaten the enemy, threaten them to the level they don't fight a war. And when they don't fight the war, then unleash these viruses, which they are manufacturing in Wuhan. So Wuhan is a factory of manufacturing of viruses. It is in the media 1,500 kind of viruses are in Wuhan labs, which are there for, I don't know what reasons. What are they doing with these viruses? What are they doing with these vaccines? The time has come where it should put an iron curtain on China. Block anything, everything coming from China. Push them back to Stone Age. Let them go back to Sun Tzu and his war doctrines a few thousand years back and go to swords. Because either you be in the world, become a world player and follow international rules and be a community of brotherhood or Vasudev Kutumbam, or have your own absurd logics, be hallucinating and think of unleashing these viruses, kabhi ye, kabhi wo and all that, then one day the world will block you. Uday, you will be confined to your own territory. Then the problem is, even your so-called unified China will not be there. It will break up. Because your debt is $50 trillion.
How should we view, though, Major General Parihar, this decision of China to first start vaccinating their military? They're vaccinating their military before the tests are even completed and before, of course, the public gets it.
I think they would have done some kind of a testing before. That is my perception. They are not putting data on record, and that is an autocratic country, the Communist Party. Whatever they do, the globe doesn't know about it.
Like what they did about COVID as well, when they didn't let the world know.
I am sure they would have definitely done it. Second, about the drugs, what we have been getting the raw material from the China. This earlier it was coming from the Europe, and we also start manufacturing. As Sumit has mentioned over the cost, there is always a company takes a huge profit on the cost. So if you are taking from the China, you have a better profit. You will lose some profit, but it is not that if the China stops, the companies will lose. Even if they buy it from the Europe and selling on the same price what they are selling today, they will be not at the loss. Their profit will be less. So we have nothing to worry about it. So my idea is very clear that we should not worry about China. If they are doing, we do on our way. You start taking the raw material from other countries and we'll start making ourselves also. That's not a big issue. When you can make a space devices and tanks and all, pharmaceutical drugs is not a big issue. So I am sure we have enough potential and zeal. Third point, as rightly mentioned about the armed forces, our officers, young officers and seniors, they go with the front. So far the mountain warfare is concerned, we are very well ahead with any country in the world. This goes because of the Siachen exposure is the biggest exposure in last 30 years. And we are well prepared. Our all regiments have been moving gradually in this area. So nobody can beat us in the mountain area with the present scenario and the amount of deployment what we have put it. So we cannot be defeated in any circumstances. With the machines are better and the man behind the machine makes maximum difference. As the net was a very prelim jet, but it has worked so well. The same way the Tejas is doing well, and Rafale and Sukhoi are basically they are the icing on the pudding for the killing point. Otherwise, you have excellent setup, and the best part is our morale of the armed forces is very high. You have to give them an open hand, and they will show the best of it.
Okay, Major General Dwivedi, last word to you. Obviously, I think the conclusion we can draw from all of this is that China is unethical, China is dictatorial, China is hides things, does not reveal to the world what the actual scenario is, actual situation is. From all of this, can we just now hope and pray, and perhaps it will be better for the entire global community if another country gets the first indigenous vaccine and not China?
Well, Uday, as a student of security and strategic studies, I'd like to flag that a nation cannot be dependent on any other nation in 4 areas. First is food security, second is technology, third is your defense, and fourth is the medicine. Any nation which doesn't have self-reliance in these 4 areas is seriously impinging its own security. First point. Secondly, my own experience with China of multiple dimensions is that Chinese have to be treated as the Chinese treat others. That is a simple sort of a principle or a thumb rule. And Chinese treat others either as subjugated or as lackeys. Third point is Chinese never honor any agreement or any sort of laws what are applicable around the global polity. They have defied all. They have defied Philippines, the Scarborough Shoal, Philippines got the verdict in their favor, they defied it. And as far as we are concerned, LAC, they have defied all the agreements starting from 93, 96, 2005, 2013. So therefore, with Chinese, please do not go by any agreement or any sort of understanding. And my third point is how well we are prepared. I am talking from horse's mouth. I commanded my battalion in Siachen, right? That is the highest battlefield in the world. So therefore, there can be no one better than to certify that we have tremendous advantage as far as high altitude warfare is concerned. Secondly, well, weapons do count, but it's the man behind the weapon that is more important. Chinese may have better weapons, but we have better men behind the weapons. And third, very important issue, please understand, Chinese always go with a very, very long, deep thinking. Today, what is going on at the line of actual control, they have a policy. First, take initiative by defying all the rules of the game, then get into position advantage, then get into marathon talks and keep talking without yielding ground. Now we must be prepared for long haul, not one winter, 2 winters, maybe many winters, and also keep a close eye on Pakistan, because Pakistan is itching for an opportunity and they feel that time now is a great sort of advantage. I think we as a nation must get our acts together, have a deep thinking, resilience, and take this challenge head on, because Chinese have to be taught a lesson and there couldn't be better opportunities than what lies today.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Appreciate all of you joining us on this particular debate.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.